Welcome to the Lost Art of Shooting with Billy Keller. This video is broken down into 13 chapters. Chapter 1, Ready Position and Body Balance. Chapter 2, Establishing your pivot and movable foot in preparation for your shot. Chapter 3, Jumping. Chapter 4, 5 steps in preparation for your shot. Chapter 5, Drawing the imaginary shooting line. Chapter 6, Form shooting on your feet. Chapter 7, Form shooting on your back. Chapter 8, Shooting pocket shot or set shot. Chapter 9, Shooting ready position shot. Chapter 10, Jump shot. Chapter 11, Jump shot, shadow shooting without the ball. Chapter 12, Taking the jump shot. Chapter 13, Putting it all together. And now, here's Billy Keller.
The first thing that I'd like to talk about today is ready position and body balance. These two things are so important as you're approaching the shot, and that's why I want to cover it today. As we look at our ready position, the first thing that we want to do is we want to make sure that we have our feet underneath our shoulders, okay? Feet underneath our shoulders, and the balls of your feet will actually bear the weight. So the balls of your feet are actually going to be what is bearing the weight. It may appear that I have weight on the heels of my feet, but actually the balls of my feet are actually bearing the weight. What I want to do, again, is I want to have my feet underneath my shoulders, the balls of my feet bear the weight. I want my knees flexed, I want my hips down low, my upper body is slightly rounded, my head is up, my eyes are up, and my hands are up in preparation to catch the basketball. Body balance is really in the head. What we want to do with our head is we want to make sure that our head is positioned in between our feet. Also, then what we want is we want to make sure our head is no farther forward than our toes. If we get in a position where we take our head too far forward of our feet, what that does is that rounds too much in the way of rounding your back, and what that's going to do is that's going to cause you to get yourself out of balance. If your head is over your heels, that means that we're going to be too erect with our upper body. So what we want is we want that happy medium so that we have our head between our feet and our head no farther forward than our toes. This will give us good, proper, ready position and body balance. First of all, what is a pivot foot? The pivot foot is the foot that must maintain contact with the floor at all times that you have the basketball in hand. The other foot then is your movable foot. And all of this is important as we're executing a forward pivot. Let me demonstrate the forward pivot after I give you the definition of how to establish that pivot foot. The foot that hits the floor as you catch the ball. That foot becomes your pivot foot, the other foot becomes your movable foot. Now as I demonstrate that, I will also talk that definition. The foot that hits the floor as you catch the ball, that foot becomes your pivot foot, the other foot becomes your movable foot. And in executing that forward pivot, I'm going to catch the basketball, that establishes my pivot foot, I bring my movable foot up doing a forward pivot. What I'd like to do is I'd like to talk a little bit about jumping. There are two power sources that you have in your jump. Your upper body strength, which are your arms, and your lower body strength, which are your legs. Those two power sources must work together in order to get your body up off the floor. When we talk about jumping, the first thing that we want to do is we want to get into that ready position. Feet shoulder width apart, you are in that ready position, you have your tail down, you're ready for jumping. Let's talk about your arms and that power source with the arms. What we're going to do is we're going to say this command, and it will be small circle. What we first want to do is we want to take our hands like this with our palms out. We want to lead with our palms, and we want a small circle. As we pass our knees, our hands are going to lift. Okay? Now at the same time that happens, what we want to do is we want to bend slightly below ready. So what we start out doing is we start out with small circle. We're going to bend slightly below ready. As our hands pass our knees, our hands lift and our legs push. And so what happens is, in order to get your body up off the floor, both power sources working together will help you to get your body up off the floor in preparation for your shot. I want to show you 5 steps to get you prepared to shoot. The first one is step and catch. The second one is establish your grip. The third one is bring the ball to the shooting pocket area. The fourth one is snap your head to the target. And the fifth one is bring your movable foot up. The first step of the 5 steps in preparation for your shot would be step and catch. As I am approaching the basketball, what I want to do is I want to step and catch with the inside foot closest to the basket. No matter if I'm right-handed or left-handed, it is always going to be the inside foot closest to the basket as I'm headed across the floor either to my right or to my left. As I look at this, what I want to try to do is I want to try to semicircle the ball. As the ball is being passed to me, what I want to do is I want to take the inside foot closest to the basket and step and catch at the same time. I want to turn that foot in slightly towards my target, and I also want to have my shoulders as open as I can to my target. So I want to use this red line here on the floor as an example. As I approach the ball, I do not want to go straight down the line because look where my shoulders are facing. What I want to do is I want to get off of that line slightly so I somewhat semicircle the ball or the pass, and when I catch the basketball, I'm going to catch the ball and step at the same time. That establishes my pivot foot as I prepare for my shot. I'd like to talk about the second step of our 5 steps in preparation for your shot, and that is establishing your grip. Right-handers, if you will, if you get down on your right knee, left-handers, if you'll get down on your left knee. I'm going to demonstrate as a right-hander because I am right-handed. But what I'm going to ask you to do is to place the basketball on the floor in front of you just like this, so that the seams of the basketball are running across just as you see it here. We're going to use the valve as an example here by drawing an imaginary shooting line or imaginary line right down the center of the ball that crosses the seams and also crosses that valve. I want you to notice as I turn my hand over, the part that actually handles the basketball will be your finger pads. The finger pads will be the first joint to the end of each finger and also your thumb. As we've drawn that shooting line, I want to take the first finger of my shooting hand and place it about a ½ inch to an inch off of that center line that we drew. My other fingers will be slightly pointing towards that center line with my thumb running the same direction as the seam. So what we have is we have those fingers slightly pointing, they're spread out, they're slightly pointing towards that center line. Our thumb is running the same direction as the seam, and you'll notice that my elbow is no farther than the outside part of the ball. The other thing that I want to do is to bring the ball back, roll that ball back slightly so we put a slight bend in our wrist. Now you'll notice that all of the seams where they meet on the side of the basketball, I'm going to take my balance hand. I'm going to have my balance hand, the longest finger, middle joint of that hand, and also we're going to control the basketball with our finger pads. I'm going to place that joint in the area where all of the seams meet. My fingers will be spread and relaxed, my fingers will be pointing straight ahead, and my thumb, for the most part, will be pointing towards the ceiling. I have a slight bend in the wrist, and my elbow of my balance arm will be a little farther out than my shooting arm elbow. I want you to notice also as I turn the ball to you, what you have done is you have formed a T with your thumbs. Now your thumbs probably aren't long enough because of the size of the ball, but if you draw an imaginary line that goes from the shooting hand thumb to the balance hand thumb, you will form a T. So as we establish our grip on the basketball, here is what it looks like without the basketball, and here is what it looks like with the basketball. As we look at the basketball again above our head, you'll notice that the basketball is resting on your finger pads. You should again be able to see light between the palm of the hand and the bottom of the ball. And again, as you prepare to shoot the basketball, your finger pads will be actually what is handling the ball. Our third step in preparation for a shot is bringing the ball to the shooting pocket area. As I get into that ready position, I'm going to place the basketball underneath my dominant arm. I'm going to take my less dominant hand and I'm going to find the inside of my dominant knee. Now I want to bring this hand up slightly and out slightly, and this is what we call the shooting pocket. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring the basketball into the shooting pocket area, and what that does is that coordinates your two power sources for your shot, and that's your arms and your legs. This is also what I call the golden shooting position that we're looking for in preparation for our shot. The fourth step in preparation for our shot is snapping your head to the target. Obviously, what you have to do is you have to focus in with your eyes on the target. Before you can hit a target, you got to make sure that you can see it. So after you bring the ball into the shooting pocket area, all we want to do is we want to snap our head to the target. The target may be to your left, the target may be to your right, or the target may be in front of you. No matter where the target is, you want to make sure that you snap your head to the target so you see exactly where you want the ball to go. We've completed our 4 steps in preparation for our shot, and now here is number 5. Bring your movable foot up. As we think about bringing your movable foot up, we're actually executing a forward pivot. I'd like to focus in on my feet at this point. What I always want to try to do as a player is to keep my feet underneath my shoulders. As a right-hander, I am always going to have my right shoulder slightly ahead of my left shoulder. That's the way I also want my feet. So as we look at my feet, what I always want to try to do is to place, in starting out, placing the less dominant foot into the arch of the dominant foot, then bringing the dominant foot out underneath my shoulder, keeping the same distance that my dominant foot had over my less dominant, and this is the position that I actually want to pivot to. So as you'll watch, I will execute this, and as I bring my movable foot up, keeping it underneath my dominant shoulder, the execution of the forward pivot looks like this. Now, if I am going to my right, this is what it looks like. If I am now going to my left, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be stepping and catching and going through my steps, but now because this is my dominant foot, which we always want to be forward, my movable foot now being my less dominant foot will come up a little bit short of my dominant foot. And this is what it looks like as you complete your footwork going to your left. Anytime that you are facing the basket, your shoulders are facing the basket, your movable foot as you bring it up will not have to be in a forward pivot motion. All you'll have to do is to bring your movable foot forward. So in other words, as I step and catch and go through my steps in preparation for my shot, I am going to bring my movable foot up. Now, as we think about it, for a right-hander, this is the only time that I will say right foot, left foot as we prepare to shoot. If I am a right-hander, my step and catch foot will be my left foot. If I am a left-hander, my step and catch foot will be my right foot. However, since I am a right-hander, I'm going to step and catch with my left foot, and then when I bring my movable foot up, I don't have to do a forward pivot one way or the other. I just bring it straight forward. No matter if they're playing against a zone or if they're playing against a man-to-man, when you are facing the basket, your step and catch foot will always be your less dominant foot, and your movable foot will always be the dominant foot. And remember, we always want dominant foot slightly ahead of less dominant. Now that we have used our 5 steps to get ourselves to a shooting ready position, we now have to draw an imaginary shooting line that we can use to deliver the ball from us or myself to the basket. And what we're going to do is we're going to take our shooting hand, we're going to place it into the shooting pocket. At this point in drawing our line, we want to lift that shooting hand, drawing that imaginary line that goes through the shooting eye, the shooting ready position, which is 4 inches in front of your forehead, 4 inches above your shooting eye, all the way to the target. And as we were snapping our head to the target, we want to make sure that we focus in with our eyes over the front edge of the target. So I think it's important that we start again at the base of our shooting line, which is at the shooting pocket, lift it and draw that shooting line actually several times. Because all we're trying to do is to develop this as a habit, because this is the line that we want to use to deliver the ball to the basket for best results. In shooting the basketball, you need to have good, strong hands, fingers, wrists, forearm, and tricep. Those areas have to be strong in order to shoot the basketball. I do what I call form shooting on your back and also form shooting on your feet. What I'd like to do is to take the form shooting on our feet first. What I want to do is I want to start out very close to the basket, 3 to 5 feet from the bucket. I'm not too concerned about how far away from the basket I start out, but I want to be 3 to 5 feet from the bucket. What I'm going to do is I'm going to place the basketball in the shooting ready position. Again, that's 4 inches above your shooting eye, 4 inches in front of your forehead. You can notice that the elbow will be no farther than the outside part of the ball. By doing this with one hand, it automatically establishes the proper elbow placement so that it's no farther than the outside part of the ball. At this point in shooting the form shooting drill on your feet, all I'm going to do is lift the elbow and drive my hand and fingers through the ball here. And all I want to do is try to lay it right over the front edge of the target. I want to place that basketball in that shooting line that started from the shooting pocket area straight up through the shooting eye, the shooting ready position. I'm going to lift and drive. Now, after I've made 5 in a row, and I'm going to move back a little faster because of time, but what I'm looking to do is to do the exact same thing now from 4 or 5 feet. As I make 5 in a row, I'm going to move back. If you miss the shot, go ahead and move back in. We're not so concerned about how far you can go back. We're more concerned about technique. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to work on the exact same thing every time. As I make baskets, 5 in a row, I'm going to move back. If I miss a shot, I'm going to move forward and start over. What I'm trying to do is work on technique, and I'm also working on confidence. I want to have confidence in my shot. If I have good confidence in my shooting, I'm going to have a pretty good opportunity to be successful. Okay? I'm going to continue to move back. I'm going to continue to follow through. I'm going to continue to follow that shooting line all the way to the basket. I want to lay it right over the front edge of the target. To the point where eventually you get out here around that 3-point line. And if you miss it, that's okay, you move back in. Watch how important it is to utilize your legs from this distance. If I just try to use my upper power source, watch how much of a struggle it is to get the ball to the basket. But if I use my legs and my upper power source, watch how much easier it is to get the ball to the basket using both power sources. Okay? Then you can come back in and do the exact same drill with both hands. Really concentrating on following through. Shooting hand pushes the ball out of the balance. I want you to notice also that I really try to get the basketball laying on the finger pads, and I really try to emphasize showing a lot of light between the palms of the hand and the ball. That way I control the basketball with those finger pads. Just set it right back, lift and drive. I want to talk about form shooting on your back and the importance of strengthening your hands, your fingers, your wrist, your forearm, and your tricep. Those areas have to be strong in order to have good success in shooting the basketball. And I'm going to show you form shooting on your back. First of all, we're not going to use the basket with this particular fundamental, but what we want to do is we want to give you some names. The first name and fundamental we want to establish here is establishing your grip on the basketball. We've already talked about establishing your grip. We're also going to draw that imaginary line that goes from the shooting eye to the ceiling. What we're going to do is we're going to place the basketball in that shooting line directly above the shooting eye. At this point, we're going to say these words. Set the ball. I want to set the ball. I want to establish my grip. I want to check my elbow placement. I want to make sure that my elbow is no farther than the outside part of the ball. I want to also have a slightly bent elbow as I prepare to shoot the ball. Now at this point, I'm going to set the ball, establish my grip, check my elbow placement. I'm going to give my arm power by what I call compressing the spring. I'm going to compress the spring and push. I'm going to fully extend and try to snap the wrist at full extension of the arm. The ball will come off of these two fingers last. What I'm looking for is this type of rotation, and the multicolored ball is really good for showing that rotation. And it looks like this. What I'm going to do is set the ball, establish my grip, check my elbow placement, compress the spring, and push. When I compress the spring, I'm only dropping the ball about 2, 3, 4 inches max, and then I'm going to push. What again I'm doing is strengthening my fingers, my wrist, my forearm, and my tricep. We can do it with one hand, and then we can also do it with both hands. What we do now is we set the ball, we establish our grip. Now with both hands, we check our elbow placement, we compress the spring. Once we compress the spring, the shooting hand takes the ball out of the balance hand. And it looks like this. Set the ball, establish your grip, check your elbow placement, compress the spring, and push. When I finish, I want to finish by having my balance hand fingers pointing towards the ceiling, my shooting hand fingers pointing towards my knees. So again, it looks like this. And I'm really trying to follow my shooting line. I'm really trying to strengthen those areas that I have to have strong. Now, once you've done that, you can go to the basket and use this as a measuring tool. What we want to do is we want to work for 2 or 3 weeks strengthening your upper body. Then go to a basket. And probably the best thing to do would be to do this before you get started doing your strengthening exercises. Then after 2 or 3 weeks of practicing, then you can go to a basket to see how much progress that you've made. So what I'm going to basically do will be the same things that I did earlier on my back. I'm going to start out by setting the basketball in that imaginary shooting line. I'm going to set the ball, establish my grip, check my elbow placement. Now I'm going to compress the spring and push. And I'm not so concerned right now about making the basket as I am working on technique, because technique is really what is important. And as I work on it, I make sure that I have the proper rotation. If I do something funny with my hand, if I turn my hand this way, the ball is going to tell me. If I turn my hand this way, the ball is going to tell me. And when I do that, I'm going to lose power and I'm going to lose accuracy. And what I really want to do is follow that shooting line all the way to the target. Now, if I could have my helper here under the basket to help me, what we're going to do is we're going to start out and we're going to try to see if we can get the ball to the bottom of the net. We're making progress. We want to try to get it to mid-net. And then eventually we're going to get to the bottom of the rim. But eventually what we want to do is we want to try to get the basketball over the rim. Ooh. And once you get to the point where you're in the right position and you've worked on it, then you're going to have some continued success in shooting the basketball. And what we want to do is we just want to do the same thing every time. You can also do this with both hands. One hand being the shooting hand, the other one being the guide hand. Again, you're up by the rim. And then making baskets. We have Ronald here with us. What we're going to have Ronald to do is to demonstrate the shooting pocket shot, or in some cases, people may refer to it as the set shot. But what we want Ronald to do first in his setup is, first of all, we've talked about his feet. We want to make sure that his dominant foot is slightly ahead of his less dominant. Ronald is a right-hander, so what we want to do is we want to get him in a ready position. His knees are bent, the balls of his feet bear the weight. Some points that we want to talk about here, which I think is very important in shooting, is number one, your elbow, your wrist, and your longest finger. Those particular areas want to all be in a straight line. Also, we want to make sure that the elbow stays to the point where it's no farther than the outside part of the ball. Sometimes players get into a habit of this elbow drifting out, and what that's going to do is that's going to change your established shooting grip on the ball. The other thing that we want to emphasize here is to make sure we don't palm the basketball. We want to make sure that we get the basketball up in the air so that you will be able to see light between the palm of the hand and the ball. So again, the finger pads are actually controlling the ball, and that's going to give you a better opportunity for success. Let's take a look at Ronald as he demonstrates these functions. Notice how he follows his line. Now the one thing that I would suggest here as we're improving on our skills is, number one, and this is a common occurrence of young players, is sometimes what we have is we have the shooting arm elbow out a little too far. Remember, as we talked before, we want to make sure that the elbow of the shooting arm is no farther than the outside part of the ball. So as we get Ronald set, we want to make sure that we have the elbow, the wrist, and his longest finger all in a straight line. At this point, what he wants to do then is to really be conscious of keeping the elbow so that it's no farther than the outside part of this ball. Don't let it drift out. And then all he wants to do is lift it straight up through that shooting line and deliver it to the basket through that delivery line. Let's try again, Ronald. Okay? It's important also that he not take his head and shoulders back. What he wants to do is he wants to lean towards the basket, and he wants to shoot the set shot or the shooting ready position shot from the tips of his toes to the tips of his fingers. Let's watch again. His eyes are focused on the front edge of the target. He wants to lay the ball right over the front edge of the target that he's looking at. And if he does that, which he is doing now, he's going to have success in shooting a nice percentage as he continues through a ball game. Very good. I want you to also notice, as we talked also about the power sources, I want you to notice that as he lifts the basketball, he's also going to push with his legs at the same time. So the shot is going to be, again, from the tips of your toes to the tips of your fingers. He's got good focus, eye focus on the target, and he's doing a nice job of following the shooting line and really following through. I want you to notice also that when he finishes his shot, he wants to lay his wrist and fingers right over the front edge of the target that he's looking at, and he's going to have a full extended arm reaching for his target. Let's watch. Now sometimes with our shooting pocket shot, sometimes players, as Ronald is doing, will start a little higher than the shooting pocket. And sometimes I believe that that's okay, and what he wants to try to do is to find his comfort zone in where he starts. But for the most part, what we want to try to do is we want to try to start him out a little bit lower than under the chin. We want to start him in this area here so that he has a pretty good amount of lifting space to give him power to get the ball to the basket. Now when he finishes, if I may, I'd like to show you where his hands will finish as he completes his shot. The shooting hand, once the shooting hand comes past the shooting ready position, the fingers of the balance hand will point towards the ceiling. The shooting hand fingers then will lift the ball out of the balance hand, and now what he has is he has a good follow through with the arm, he has a good snap of the wrist, and he has his fingers pointing of his shooting hand pointing towards the bottom of the net. So again, it looks like this as we both demonstrate. We've got our fingers of our balance hand here, shooting hand fingers follow through and point towards the bottom of the net. Ronald has shown us the set shot or shooting pocket shot. And usually the shooting pocket shot is more of a perimeter shot. Most of the times guards will use those shots, especially players shooting the three-point shot will use the shooting pocket shot. But now what we want to go to is the shooting ready position shot, and we have Taylor here to demonstrate the shooting ready position shot. So what we're looking to do, in most cases, what we have is if we have an inside player, either a post player or a power forward type player, this is the type of shot that they will use a lot of times around the basket. In the paint area, maybe in the short corner area, they will use this particular shot. In setting this shot up, what we want to do, everything is pretty much the same like Ronald was doing. What we want Taylor to do is to go ahead and establish her grip on the basketball, just as we would take and do any other shot. But this time, instead of starting it in the shooting pocket area, this time what we're asking Taylor to do is to get into a ready position, but instead we're going to bring the ball up here to the shooting ready position. Now you'll notice in the shooting ready position, she has the basketball placed about 4 inches in front of her forehead and 4 inches above her shooting eye. She has established her grip. You can see light between the palms of the hand and the ball. Her fingers are nicely positioned. She's got good control with those finger pads. And you also can notice that she has the elbow no farther out than the outside part of the ball. Now at this point, we really have to concentrate on a couple of things. Number one, when we do take the shot, we have to follow the shooting line, but also what we have to do is we have to make sure that we utilize the two power sources in her shot. Now again, a larger player, a post player, an inside player, maybe a perimeter guard or perimeter forward who might play in here, or a power forward that plays in here, this is a shot that again they may use. So all we're looking to do now is we're going to lift this elbow and we're going to drive our hand and fingers through the ball. At this point, the balance hand fingers will stay right there. The balance hand will not do anything but guide and balance. All we want Taylor to do now is to lift this elbow and drive her hand and fingers through the ball, through that shooting line, all the way to the basket. Let's watch Taylor shoot some. Her eyes are going to be focused, even though when she starts out, I want you to notice that she is looking at her target through this window. Whereas a shooting pocket shot, we're looking at the target from over the top of the basketball. She's looking at it from underneath. She wants to make sure she has her knees bent so she has both power sources. As she lifts the ball, she's going to lift with her legs at the same time. You'll notice that every time that she shoots, whenever you really concentrate on following the shooting line, a lot of times when you miss, you will miss short, or sometimes you might overshoot it and shoot long. The good thing about a miss sometimes is it tells you that you're doing things right, because the shots that Taylor has missed, she's landed right on the front edge of the target, and that's exactly where she's looking. Now all she wants to do is get a little higher and make sure she lays it right over the front edge of the target. You'll notice she has a nice follow through once the ball comes off. Once the ball comes off of her hand, she's got a full extended arm. She snaps the wrist. We have her fingers pointing towards the bottom of the net. Her balance hand fingers now will be pointing towards the ceiling. She has excellent form. As you can tell, she's following that shooting line. She's full extended with her legs. She's full extended with the arms. And now she has a nice follow through as she lays the ball right over the target. Now also what I'd like to ask Taylor to do is I'd like for her to turn around. She is a player that will play in the post area. A lot of times in the low post area, this is a shot that will be taken by inside players. In essence, it's going to be the same shot, but now what we have to do is we have to pivot one way or the other. So in other words, let's say that she has established the pivot foot as being her right foot. She is going to pivot to the basket, keeping the ball high, and at that point she will shoot the same shot that she was taking here as she was facing the basket. Okay, let's try it. Here's what we're going to do. We set it up. Her pivot foot is her right foot. Her movable foot is her left foot. She is going to pivot, and now she takes her shot. Now obviously we're doing this in more of a slow motion pattern so you can actually see what the shot looks like and what the footwork is as we shoot the basketball. Move that just a little bit. Okay, now we want her to move the other direction. Now what we're asking her to do is we're going to change the pivot foot. We're going to change the pivot foot to be our left foot as our pivot foot. Our right foot is our movable foot. We're going to now pivot towards the baseline and execute the same shot. Also, a player might concentrate on shooting a bank shot in this area. If we're on this side, if it's a situation where we're not too far in our pivot and we can use the board, we can do that, or we can just go ahead and shoot it straight in. Let's execute this a couple more times. Now obviously what she also has to do is she has to then determine which way she's going to pivot. Some of it will obviously depend on which foot is her pivot foot, but which way she goes will also be determined by where the defender is. So if she looks over her left shoulder and the defender is here and her pivot foot is here, all she has to do is to pivot and she takes the shot. If it's the same scenario, if I am on her left shoulder playing defense and her pivot foot is her left foot and she wants to go to her right, she has to then use the dribble with the outside hand. So she dribbles first, changes the pivot foot, and then she's able to take her shot as she pivots towards the basket. I want you to notice also that as we execute these fundamentals and execute these shots, what we always want to try to do is we want to start in close to the basket. So oftentimes what players want to do is they want to start out at that 15-foot line, which would be the free throw line, or in some cases they want to shoot the basketball at the three-point line. Where you really work on technique and develop your shot is right here 3 to 5 feet from the basket. So as we go through and have our players to demonstrate their shots, we always start in close. I'm a firm believer that every player that plays the game of basketball needs to establish a jump shot, especially a jump shot in the paint area, in relatively close to the basket, 15 feet and in. A lot of times you'll have the shooting pocket shot maybe being taken on the outside from the three-point land, but what we need to do is we need to develop a jump shot, and we have Kylie here today that is going to demonstrate an actual jump shot. When I think about players needing jump shots, especially in the paint area, the reason is so important is the fact that if they can develop a jump shot, what they're going to do is they're going to move their game to a different level. Let's say, for example, a guard dribbling into the paint area where we're standing right now. If that player comes in and shoots something other than a jump shot, they're going to have a difficult time shooting the basketball over the outstretched arms of the inside players. However, if a player can penetrate the middle area and pull up and shoot the jump shot and actually get up off the floor and shoot it, then they're going to have a better opportunity to get the ball up in the air over the outstretched arm of the big players and have more success scoring baskets. What I'd like for Kylie to do is to go through with us the jump shot, and I'd like to first set her up so that you can see the parts that we want to emphasize as we go through it. Okay, Kylie, if you will for me, what we want you to do is we want you to have, again, your feet shoulder width apart, dominant foot slightly ahead of less dominant, and we want to pretend that Kylie has already gone through the 5 steps to get herself in a position to shoot the basketball. So we're asking her to get into the ready position. She's already gone through all of the 5 steps, and we get her set up. Now I want you to notice that she has her shoulders level, her head is up, and she's really focused in on where she's going. Now the first thing that we want to emphasize here in the jump shot is that we're really looking to take the basketball from the shooting pocket to the shooting ready position with power. As we've talked earlier in our explanation of the jump, without the basketball we are able to jump a certain way. But now that we have the basketball, now what we have to do is we have to utilize the basketball and do what I call a power lift. I'd like for Kylie to demonstrate the power lift as she prepares to shoot the basketball. we make sure that we start the basketball out in the shooting pocket area. You'll notice that her elbow is no farther than the outside part of the ball. Her elbow, her wrist, and her longest finger are all in a straight line. She has controlling the basketball with her finger pads. She can see light between the palms of the hand and the ball. Now with the power lift, what we're going to do is we're going to take the basketball from the shooting pocket area to the shooting ready position. I want her to start out slow so that she shows you how the power lift actually takes place. Okay, Kylie. She's going to bring the ball up in preparation for her shot. She brings the ball from the shooting pocket straight up through that shooting line to the shooting ready position. Now, as you'll notice, she's going to start doing this with a little more power and a little more strength and quickness. Okay, now we're going to do it with a little more strength and quickness. She's going to lift. Because now when you use the actual jump without the ball, you can really circle with those arms. With the basketball, you've got to use the power lift as a substitute for the small circle, but that's going to help you to get your body up off the floor. By bringing the basketball to the shooting pocket area, it coordinates your two power sources for your jump. And this power lift is what is going to help us get our body up off the floor, or assist our body off the floor for a jump shot. Okay? So a couple more times with power. She does a nice job of bringing the ball straight up so she's ready to shoot the basketball. Kylie again has the basketball in the shooting pocket area. We're going to use what we call the shadow shot. In other words, now what we're going to do is we're going to coordinate by bringing the ball into the shooting pocket area our two power sources. The two power sources are our legs and also our arms. Our legs and our arms. Now, as we lift the basketball, we're going to lift the basketball with power and strength through our power lift, and we're going to jump then at the same time. So we're going to lift the ball and jump with our legs at the same time, going into the air. Okay, let's demonstrate that a couple times. Okay? All she's going to do is take the basketball straight up. She's going to keep her head level. She's going to keep her shoulders level, and she's going to bring the ball straight up through this imaginary shooting line. Okay? Let's watch. Okay, one more time. Watch the power and the strength and the power lift. And as the power lift is coming up with the ball, we're also pushing off with the legs at the same time. And again, the ball coming to the shooting pocket area coordinates those two power sources. Let's watch one more time. Okay, and again. Okay, now, where we're going with this is we're going to show you your strongest release point for your jump shot. The best way that I can explain this to you is by using my hands. We have 3 points of the jump that I want to emphasize. Number one is the very top of your jump, and I'm going to call this level number 2. I want to call level number 1 right before we get to the top of our jump. Level number 3 will be exactly at the same level of number 1, but after we have gone to number 2, and now we're on our way down. What we want Kylie to do is we want her to power lift and jump, recognize where that level number 1 is, because at level number 1, that's where we are going to form shoot. And form shoot is nothing more than shooting at level number 1 a ready position shot. Okay? Now, we're not going to use the basket at this point. All I want her to do is to lift, jump, and we're going to say these words: lift, jump, shot. Those are 3 key words in helping you establish your timing for your shot. It's lift, jump, which actually happens at the same time, and once you get to level number 1, we will form shoot. Okay? Let's watch Kylie as she performs this. Lift, jump. Okay? Okay, and what she's now going to do is she's going to lift, jump, and then at level number 1, all I want her to do is form shoot. Okay? Let's first do this without the ball. What we want to do is we want to lift, jump, shot. So it looks like this. Lift, jump, shot. Okay? And we're really going to emphasize the shot at level number 1. Okay? All right, let's watch Kylie do this. Lift, jump. It's lift, jump, shot.
Lift, jump, shot.
Okay? And she's doing a nice job of finding level number 1, because level number 1 is her strongest release point, and at that point she's going to form shoot and make the basket. Here we go.
Lift, jump, shot.
Okay, again, nice follow through, good elevation, and you'll notice that her arms and her legs are coordinated for power, and at level number 1, she's able to shoot the basket.
Lift, jump, shot.
At this point, we're going to add the shot to everything else that Kylie has been doing. Let's watch. Lift, jump, and at lift, jump, level number 1, watch the release. She does a nice job of bringing the ball from the shooting pocket to the shooting ready position, and at that point, she's got the basketball in those finger pads, and all she's going to do is to form shoot to the basket, or a shooting ready position shot. You'll notice that when she finishes, her hands will finish just like all of the other shots. Her shooting hand fingers will point towards the bottom of the net, balance hand fingers point towards the ceiling. She has a nice follow through, good eye contact. These two fingers touch the ball last. As the ball leaves her fingers, it will be these two fingers last, and we're looking for this type of backspin on the ball. She has excellent rotation on the ball, and she follows that shooting line to a T. What we want to do is we want to start out with our outside foot forward. What we're going to do is I'm going to use the spin pass simulating someone throwing me the ball. I'm going to step and catch. I want to turn that foot in slightly towards my target. I want to establish my grip. I want to bring the ball to the shooting pocket area. I want to snap my head to the target. I want to bring my movable foot up. I want to power lift and jump and shot. Let's look at it again. Here we are. It's step and catch, and I want to emphasize how important it is to stay in that ready position. Step and catch, establish your grip, bring the ball to the shooting pocket area, snap your head to the target, bring your movable foot up, lift, jump, shot. One more time, a little quicker now. Step and catch, establish your grip, bring the ball to the shooting pocket area, snap your head to the target, bring your movable foot up, lift, jump, shot. Now let's try it without the words. Here's what it looks like without the words. Number 1, facing the basket. Anytime that our shoulders are facing the basket, my step and catch foot will always be my left foot, being a right-hander. No matter where we are on the floor, shoulders facing the basket, I step and catch. I go through all my steps, bring that movable foot straight forward, lift, jump, shot.
It is important to continue to work on your skills and create your own workout program. You should stick to the program for a minimum of 3 weeks, tracking your progress. We have 2 suggested workout programs for jump shot shooters and set shot shooters. There will be a suggested number of times each drill should be performed. You can start out with lower repetitions and work up to what is most comfortable for you. The following information is intended to assist you in creating a workout program and a journal to track your progress. Your journal may look something like this. Workout for jump shot shooters. Exercise 1. Ready position and body balance. Take 4 walk-run steps to a 1-count stop. Land softly on the balls of your feet. Establish ready position. Work on the ready position and maintaining good body balance. Do this 10 reps a day for 3 weeks. Exercise 2. Implement the 5 steps in preparation for your shot. From the spin pass and off the dribble. Perform this exercise 5 times going from the right from a spin pass, and 5 times going from the right from the dribble. 5 times going left from a spin pass, and 5 times going left from a dribble. 5 times facing the basket from a spin pass, and 5 from the dribble. 30 reps a day for 3 weeks. Exercise 3. Form shooting on your back. On your back, use one hand, shooting hand only. Use both hands, shooting hand and balance hand. Use one hand, less dominant hand only. Use both hands, less dominant hand as shooting hand. 20 reps a day for each drill for 3 weeks. Exercise 4. Form shooting on your feet. Start with the ball in the shooting ready position. Work 3 feet away from the basket and move out to different locations on the floor. Use proper shooting technique. If you miss, move back into 3 feet from the basket. Use one hand, shooting hand only. Use both hands, shooting hand and balance hand. 20 reps a day for each drill for 3 weeks. Record the number of baskets made out of 20. Exercise 5. Power lift. From the jump shot technique. Start in the ready position. For this exercise, the ball will start in the shooting pocket area and end at the shooting ready position. Power lift without the ball. Power lift with the ball. Power lift and jump with the ball. 20 reps a day for each drill for 3 weeks. Exercise 6. Shadow shooting without the ball. From a ready position, practice the jump without the ball. Say out loud, lift, jump, shot for timing. Apply 5 steps in preparation for your shot for the next 3 drills. Shadow shooting without the ball going right. Shadow shooting without the ball going left. Shadow shooting without the ball going straight ahead. Do 15 reps a day for each drill for 3 weeks. Exercise 7. Jump shooting. This exercise is 6A with the ball. From a stationary position, perform jump shooting with the ball at the basket. Say lift, jump, shot out loud for timing. 15 reps a day for 3 weeks. Exercise 8. Combine drill 6B, C, and D with the ball and apply the 5 steps in preparation for your shot. Perform this exercise 5 times going to the right, 5 times going to the left, and 5 times straight at the basket. 5 reps for each drill a day for 3 weeks. Workout for set shot shooters. Exercise 1. Ready position and body balance. Take 4 walk-run steps to a 1-count stop. Land softly on the balls of your feet. Establish ready position. Work on the ready position and maintaining good body balance. Do this 10 reps a day for 3 weeks. Exercise 2. Implement the 5 steps in preparation for your shot. From the spin pass and off the dribble. Perform this exercise 5 times going from the right from a spin pass, and 5 times going from the right from the dribble. 5 times going left from a spin pass, and 5 times going left from a dribble. 5 times facing the basket from a spin pass, and 5 from the dribble. 30 reps a day for 3 weeks. Exercise 3. Form shooting on your back. On your back, use one hand, shooting hand only. Use both hands, shooting hand and balance hand. Use one hand, less dominant hand only. Use both hands, less dominant hand as shooting hand. 20 reps a day for each drill for 3 weeks. Exercise 4. Shooting pocket shot or set shot. From a stationary position, take the pocket or set shot. Do 20 reps a day for 3 weeks. Exercise 5. Shooting pocket shot or set shot, adding 5 steps in preparation for your shot. Perform this exercise 5 times going to the right, 5 times going to the left, and 5 times straight at the basket. 15 total reps a day for 3 weeks. If you have any questions about improving your shot or how to put together your own workout program, feel free to email Billy Keller at jkeller914@earthlink.net.
In conclusion, I'd like to thank you for investing in your shooting skills, but also I want to emphasize to you how important it is to take this information and go apply it wherever it is that you play. That is so important. Don't take this video and put it on a shelf someplace. What you want to do is you want to look at it every day and study it every day. Also, I want to emphasize to you as we conclude here how important it is not only to be a good basketball player or a good shooter, but how important it is to be a good student. Make sure that you're being the best possible student that you can be in the classroom. Number 2, continue to thank people for the nice things that they do for you. And number 3, continue to say no to drugs. I hope you've enjoyed our video, and I hope that you'll have the success out of this video that we feel that you can have. Good luck to you.